Welcome back to the channel, hockey fans. Since the formation of the National Hockey League in 1917, only one player has ever played for all six original franchises. This is the story of how Saskatoon native Victor Lynn made the NHL and unwittingly set an NHL record that only he can lay claim to and will probably never be broken. From Saskatoon to the bright lights of the iconic original six NHL teams and back home, this is the story of Vic Lynn. I said. Victor Ivan Lynn played in the NHL from 1943 to 1954. He is the only player to have laced them up for all original six teams. Lynn was born in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, on January 26, 1925, and passed away on December 6, 2010. The 18-year-old Lynn made his NHL debut on February 28, 1943, playing in his only game for the New York Rangers, the 5-1 loss against the Detroit Red Wings. Lynn didn't record any stats in the game. The following season in 1943-44, he was in a Detroit Red Wings jersey. Playing 3 games for the Wings, he was held off the score sheet but found his way into the penalty box with 4 minutes. Lynn would not return to the NHL until resurfacing with the Montreal Canadiens in 1945-46, where he played in 2 games for the Habs. Again, he was held off the stats sheet. Lynn would play most of the 1945-46 season in the AHL, appearing in 53 games for the Buffalo Bisons. While with the Bisons, Lynn had an impressive campaign, registering 26 goals, 25 assists, and 51 points. Lynn returned to the NHL for the 1946-47 season, this time playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Lynn would become a regular with the Leafs and went on to help them become a dynasty, winning 3 Stanley Cups in 4 years. While in Toronto, he would play on a line with Howie Meeker and Ted Teeter Kennedy. The line was known as the KLM line. Lynn returned to the AHL for the 1950-51 season, playing for the Pittsburgh Hornets. He appeared in 16 contests for Pittsburgh and recorded 6 points. However, his stay in Pittsburgh was short. On November 16, 1950, he was traded from the Leafs to the Boston Bruins, along with Bill Ezenicki for Fernie Flaman, Leo Boivin, Ken Smith, and Phil Maloney. Lynn would suit up for 56 games with the Bruins for the 1950-51 regular season, scoring 14 goals and 20 points, not including 5 playoff games. For the 1951-52 season, Lynn hit the ice for the Bruins in 12 regular season games before returning to the AHL. For the remainder of the 1951-52 season, Lynn played in 5 games for the Providence Reds before moving on to play for the Cleveland Barons of the AHL. For the 1952-53 season, Lynn played in 35 games for Cleveland and returned to the NHL for his final stop and 6th original 6 team. He played in 29 games for the Chicago Blackhawks in 1952-53 before hanging up the blades on his NHL career with 11 games played in the Windy City for 1953-54. However, this was not the end of Lynn's playing days. He would play for several more years, going home to play for the Saskatoon Quakers of the WHL. He would play mostly for the Saskatoon Quakers from 1953-54 until 1963-64, with stops in Brandon Regals, St. Paul Saints, and the Sudbury Wolves. Lynn also had a brief coaching career with the Prince Albert Mintos of the SJHL in 1958-59 and the Saskatoon Quakers of the SSHL in 1962-63. Lynn was a defenseman who played for the Detroit Red Wings, the Boston Bruins, the Montreal Canadiens, Chicago Blackhawks, the New York Rangers, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Lynn's record of playing for all 6 original teams is unlikely to ever be matched. Victor Lynn played in 327 NHL games, registering 49 goals, 76 assists, and 125 points. He played in 47 playoff games, notching 7 goals, 10 assists, and 17 points. He had 274 regular season penalty minutes and 46 playoff penalty minutes. Since the league's inception in 1917, only Victor Lynn has played for all 6 original NHL franchises. Several players have played for 5 of the original 6 teams. They include Leroy Goldsworthy, New York Rangers, Detroit, Chicago, Montreal, Boston. Bronco Horvath, New York Rangers, Montreal, Boston, Chicago, Toronto. Note, he was on the Detroit roster but never played an NHL game for them. Bud Poile, Toronto, Chicago, Detroit, New York Rangers, Boston. Gay Stewart, Toronto, Chicago, Detroit, New York Rangers, Montreal. Harry Lumley, Boston, Chicago, Detroit, New York Rangers, Toronto. Players who have played for 4 original 6 teams include Matthew Snyder, Montreal, New York, Toronto, Detroit. Anders Eriksson, Detroit, Chicago, New York, and Toronto. Aaron Downey, Boston, Chicago, Montreal, Detroit, and Robert Lane, Boston, Detroit, Montreal, Chicago. Many players played for 4 or more of these historic teams significantly before the league expanded in 1967. Some notable names include Larry Hillman, Terry Sawchuk, Jacques Plante, Lauren Davis, Pete Babando, John Brenneman, Dave Creighton, Reggie Fleming, and Carl Foss, the first winner of the Calder Memorial Trophy in 1932-33 for Rookie of the Year. Active players who have played for the original 6 teams include Patrick Kane, Chicago, New York, Detroit; Tyler Bertuzzi, Detroit, Boston, Toronto; and Max Domi, Montreal, Chicago, and Toronto. Hey hockey fans, if you like this content, please slap that subscribe button. You can also follow my blog at https://tedtalkshockey.com, and remember to keep your stick on the ice.
Thanks for watching.